In this first lecture, we're going to talk about business mindset. I feel like you can't cover the tools of small business without talking about mindset, because your mindset as an entrepreneur is easily the most important thing that you have. Now, within mindset, the first thing we're going to talk about is your mindset on failure. A lot of people think that failure is a bad thing and something that you should avoid at all costs. This would really hurt you in business because the opposite is actually true. In order to succeed, you have to fail. So, as a picture, if you imagine your starting place and you can either end up in success or failure, this isn't the case. I think this gets confused because we switch the word failure for the word quitting too often, and they're very different things. So, your starting place might end up in success or quitting, but not success or failure. So, we're going to replace that word. And in reality, to get to success or quitting, you have to go through failure after failure after failure after failure. And it's not this terrible thing. It's actually just a tool that helps you learn and understand better. The next mindset to understand is in business, everyone at some point is going to give you bad advice. And you understanding that will help you at being able to filter out everyone's opinion and just be like, okay, here's all of the data. Now that I have this data in front of me, what are the decisions that I want to make? So as an example, for one of my businesses, I've hired out top consultants that were very expensive, all to advise on one problem, and 3 different people gave completely opposite suggestions. And not just like, oh, like maybe you could look at this. They were each like, hey, you can't do it this way, you have to do it this way. But then this guy's like, no, you can't do it this way, you have to do it this way. And it's people will completely conflict each other. And even in this course, I might give you advice where you're like, yeah, that just doesn't apply to me. And that's great that you know that. So you can still take all the information I'm giving and go, okay, there's a reason Michael thinks things should be done this way. And that's his opinion, which probably applies to this part of business, where someone else might say something completely opposite of me, and that's their understanding from their type of business, whether that's just the time period that they grew up in, or the mentors that they received that knowledge from, or their own set of failures and what they learned from those failures. But it's really important that you never fall into this trap of thinking that here's the way of doing things and things can't be done this way, because in reality, when everyone's thinking that way that things can't be done is often a really good business opportunity. And so just learn to think outside of the box, because there's going to be a full spectrum of opinions. And it's not like all of them are right or wrong. It's just you want to have all that knowledge while making your decision. So the next business mindset or tool is I like to always start with the finished goal or desire or vision. And a lot of people start out with, oh, well, here's where I am today, and here's kind of where I want to get to, but looking at where I am today, what should be my next step? And that could make you end up in any direction. And instead of doing it that way, I like to get really clear vision on, okay, here's very specifically the end goal. It looks like this, it feels like this, this is what we're trying to get to. When you have that in mind, you then work backwards and you're like, okay, well, if that's the end goal, we should probably do this and this. And if we're trying to do these things, then we should probably do this and this. And once you have that mapped out, there's this really interesting thing where a lot of people have clear vision of what their passion is and what they'd really like to be doing in life, but there's just one step that they don't have figured out. And they might have it all written out and they might know what the step is, or it just might be in the back of their mind of like, yeah, I'd love to do it, I just don't know how to sell it. Or I'd love to do it, but I couldn't hire out the video creation, or whatever that one step might be. And you knowing what that one missing step is crucial, because otherwise it's going to be completely draining your passion. And as soon as you figure it out again and put a placeholder into that step, you're going to have all the passion to go through each step and get to your end vision. So 2 tools for figuring out how to overcome that one step that you don't know. The first tool is just to hire an expert in that area to consult you on it. The second step is actually planning out failures. So if I don't know how to do sales, let's say for a course, I might plan out, okay, well, here's 5 things that might work. And so I'm going to go try all 5 of them. I'm going to see what worked with them, what didn't work with them, what did I learn, what can I take away. I then take all that knowledge and I go, okay, now I'm going to try 5 new failures, and I'm going to go and try those things and figure out what worked, what didn't work, have that new knowledge that I learned from it. And at that point, I'm going to have a pretty good understanding of what will work in sales, what won't work in sales, and it's going to be really specific to what I'm doing. Whereas I could go and hire a consultant who's teaching me how to do sales for a $5,000 course, but I'm selling a $20 course, and his understanding of what worked and didn't work isn't going to apply near as well to what I'm doing as if I just go out and plan out a bunch of failures and just do it on my own. So the next mindset that I want to throw in real quick is think about like some of your core passions. What do you really care about in life? To take this to an extreme, if you just picture like if money's no object, if you could do absolutely anything and you've already like gone out, had a good time and taken care of all your friends and family, at that next point, like what would you want to go spend your time doing? What would you want to go spend money on? Figure out that passion and somehow build that into your business. So now instead of your business just being this like value exchange where they give you money for whatever the product or service is, instead let there be like a core why behind your business. And then instead of people just valuing your business for the value you're giving them, they can really partner with the why that's attached to it. So as an example off the top of my head, in this course creation, I'm not just trying to make a bunch of money from selling $20 courses. I'm actually trying to create like, what is it that I wish I had as an entrepreneur and what would have really helped me? And how can I just take all this information overload of web design, photography, video creation, marketing, and just thin it out to be like, okay, here's what you need to know about this, here's what you need to know about this, plus adding in some of these mindsets that took me a really long time to figure out. The last tool that I want to address in the business mindsets is a tool that will help you be way more creative and help you come up with way better solutions to your problems. I feel like too often people, when trying to problem solve, will have these really great ideas, but they discount them before they even know that they have them. So in this strategy, I like to picture just kind of splitting your mind into 2 completely separate categories. So the first category is imagine if anything was possible, what solutions would you come up with? So in that place, you might write down these crazy solutions that are really good ideas, but they're not that realistic, and it's okay because that's what you're doing right now. You're just coming up with incredible ideas. Then you switch over to this other part of your mind where, okay, realistically, what are the hurdles within those ideas and why can't those ideas be done? And then you'll write out those, come back over and look at one of your hurdles, whether it's like, oh, well, we don't have the resources for it or the connections or the finances. Now, if anything's possible, how would you overcome that small problem of, well, we don't have the resources, but it's okay because we can do this or this or this? You then take those answers, come back to the realistic side and be like, well, realistically, these solutions here, whether it's crowdfunding or whatever it might be, won't work because of these new sets of problems here. Come back over and, well, if anything's possible, looking at this new set of problems, I would overcome them in these ways. At the end of this, you're going to have all this information written out that's full of really creative solutions, but it's also been critiqued along the way. And in doing this, it allows you to get significantly further than just looking at a blank piece of paper saying, yeah, I have no ideas. Instead, you've got tons of ideas and you're being really realistic with how you're approaching them at the same time.